Throughout my life, I've always had a strong interest in listening to other people's stories, whether it be through podcasts, movies, documentaries, or even just stories within the community and within my family. And one of the things that I've really come to enjoy about listening to other people's stories is listening to the challenges that people have had to overcome throughout their life and the ways and forms in which these people overcome these challenges, or in many people's cases, don't overcome these challenges. Upon finding out about this opportunity to talk for TEDx, one of the things that I did was I thought deeply about my life, and I wanted to see if I myself have had to overcome any major obstacles throughout my life. And during this reflection, I realized that I'm extremely lucky. Not once in my life have I ever had to worry about citizenship status, where my next meal is coming from, what clothes I'm going to wear. The list just goes on and on. And with that being said, one of the things that makes me very fortunate, and one of the things that stood out to me, was the area that I live in. I live in a very safe area, and I am surrounded by knowledgeable people that are constantly looking to help others grow as students and as individuals. And furthermore, the majority of adults in this area have well-paying jobs that require high levels of education. And so with this relatively easy lifestyle of mine, one may ask, what's the issue then? Well, one of the things that came across my mind when thinking about that was this analogy that my history teacher made my junior year. This analogy of a guitarist performing in front of others. If this guitarist starts off by playing basic chords, the audience may or most likely will not show interest. But as this guitarist begins to ramp it up and play some interesting tunes, the audience will almost certainly show interest. And so with this level, as the level of performance increases, so does the level of expectation. And so the expectation in this area is that the majority of adults are well educated in terms of academics. In my family's case, neither of my parents have a master's, a college, or even a high school diploma or a GED. And so for as long as I can remember, the introduction question that I personally did not like the most was the question of what my parents do for a living. From a very young age, I quickly picked up that what my parents did was different than from the parents around me. As a result of this difference, I felt a sort of embarrassment in a way when telling others what my parents did. And I felt that this embarrassment was sort of inevitable for me. As us human beings, we are constantly looking to fit in with others and those around us. And as history has shown, we will resort to extreme solutions in order to fulfill this basic need. But this sense of sort of embarrassment diminished rather quickly as in my sixth grade year, my mom decided that it would be a good idea for me to work with her. And so I did. On days where both of my parents worked, I would have to wait outside of school or at a local library, anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. So because of this constant wait, my mom decided to take me to clean houses with her. And so one day after school, my sixth grade year, I was picked up right on time, which caught me off guard because I was used to having to wait a little bit. And I went in the car, and my mom took me to clean a small one-story house nearby. When we arrived, she handed me a duster and told me where in the house to dust, and I was assigned other basic tasks such as vacuuming and mopping. And immediately when I started, I hated just about everything about the job. The distinct smell of several cleaning supplies, such as chlorine and Windex, and just having to touch several unpleasant items throughout the whole time were just some of the many reasons that I personally hated the job from the beginning. One of the things that motivated me, though, in that particular day was the fact that I thought it would be just a one-time thing. So I just kept telling myself that day, just finish the day off, and I would never have to do it again. That was not the case, as the following day, I was picked up once again on time, and we went to go clean another house nearby. The following Sunday, my mom, my older sister, and I went to go clean an office nearby. And following that, the majority of my work with my mom would be on weekends, occasionally after school, though. To say that it sucked for me at that time, I feel is an understatement. As my band director once put it, when telling us why we should thank our school custodians, it's the crappiest job out there, literally and figuratively. And I understood what he meant very quickly. That is not to say, though, that there aren't people out there who do far much for far less, as my mom herself grew up in Guatemala as a child picking crops practically every day of her life until she came here to the US. And even people nearby do far much more than they are given. And in their case, it's a matter of survival, whereas in my case, it's just a way to make a few extra bucks and a learning experience. Going into my 8th grade year, one hot summer morning, my dad woke me up fairly early and told me to get changed and to get into his truck. I knew immediately that I would have to go clean windows with him. And so I did. And I just repeated this entire same process of just hating everything about the job. Except this time, instead of the smell of chlorine on my clothes for the rest of the day, it was the smell of ammonia. And I would have a friendly reminder on my hand from the hand being cracked from the ammonia. While there were times when I was younger where I was embarrassed when telling other people what my parents did, there was never a time where I wasn't thankful for what they did. And by actually going to work with them and actually having to do just a fraction of what they do, the amount of gratitude, admiration, and respect just increased significantly. And as children, we were constantly told of this idea of not being at all ashamed of any part of family. And one of the main places where I heard this idea and where I took this message really to heart was by watching the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, One and Not Done, which illustrates the life of Kentucky men's head basketball coach, John Calipari, and his life leading up to and coaching one of the more dominant college basketball teams in the nation. One of the reasons why I personally enjoyed this documentary so much was because of the many similarities that I was able to connect to. Calipari's parents were immigrants, just like mine, and no one in Calipari's family had a college education, just like mine. And the lines that really stood out to me personally were the lines, we were not embarrassed of who we were, where we came from, or what we are, because it's all about where you're going. Seeing how Calipari embraced his family's past from a very young age, as a child, throughout high school, and as an adult, as a basketball coach, really inspired me to do the same. And to this day, both of my parents work the exact same job that they did when I first went with them. And to this day, I still help them out whenever I can. And even with the combination of several things, such as life reflecting, and just some smaller things, such as seeing both of my parents come home every day from work, no matter how good or bad it was, with a smile on their face, and always seeing how they put my 3 sisters and I first ahead of anything else. Even with all that, I've realized that there's nothing I can do to change anything about them. And even looking back, even if I could, there's nothing that I would want to change about it. So now, whenever someone asks me what my parents do for a living, I proudly tell them that my mom is a house cleaner and my dad is a window washer. Thank you.